into the Warchant.com report. I'm Jeff Cameron. Joining me, my boys from Warchant.com, Ira and Corey. 4 o'clock, Florida State and Duke. Here we go. It's Duke week. I know we're all very excited. In truth, we're excited to see a football game. ACC Network. Big money, guys. Big money being on the ACC Network. 4 o'clock, Florida State, Duke. We all should celebrate. In truth, this is a little bit about the money. Let's get caught up. Obviously, before I do that, I should remind you this weekend, knock on wood, there is a game, and they actually play it. You can tune in at 9 a.m. on Warchant TV on YouTube. Find myself and Tom Lang as we do the pregame show for you to counter College Game Day. And then after the game, you can join Tom and Gene Williams as the call-in show gets started right here on Warchant TV on YouTube as well. All right, guys, we haven't played a game in forever and a day. We know the reasons why. The Clemson game was canceled after they traveled with a player who had COVID. And then the following game against Virginia, that too got canceled. This time, Florida State, unfortunately, could not field a team, didn't have enough players, and they too fell victim to COVID. So we weren't even sure we were going to get this. But I'll ask you, Corey, could they have done anything different to have avoided the nightmare of these not playing these last, not playing 3 straight games?
I mean, I guess I don't know. I'm not a doctor, Jeff. I'm just I'm just a veteran sports writer, a bald sports writer. I wouldn't say they did anything wrong. Certainly not when it comes to the Clemson game. And then I thought the best thing they did was just go ahead and knock off the Duke game, the one up there, as early as possible. Don't do another Friday or Saturday. Hey, we're not playing after the kids have prepared all week. So they got to use that as a bye week. But other than that, no, I don't know that they did anything. The one thing I say they could have done is they knew Virginia was going to be dicey that whole week. So they could have been a little more transparent publicly and say, look, we are going to try to play the game. We have been in conversations with Virginia. We are at a low number. Right now we're planning to play, but that could change. They could have said that on Wednesday or on Thanksgiving, and then the Saturday cancellation wouldn't have caught everybody off guard, and maybe Virginia wouldn't have even flown down. That's it, though.
Ira, how big of an impact is it going to be for FSU financially to play just 5 home games this season?
I mean, enormous. The thing is, a lot of people have made the comment since this whole crisis started that college football would be played just for the money, or that the NBA would be played, but specifically about college sports because those athletes don't get paid. That it's a money grab. Well, it's not really a money grab. It's about trying to stay sustainable, trying to keep the lights on. These athletic departments have budgets of $150 to $200 million at some schools. Florida State somewhere in the middle there. But you take away home football games and you take away TV games, that's a huge chunk of it. That's what really drives the engine. So, it's a big blow. So that was the whole thing that I didn't understand about Clemson's criticism and a lot of people's criticism about Florida State with those 2 cancellations is nobody wanted to play those games more than Florida State because every time they don't play, you're talking about a ton of money. The Clemson game was estimated about a $2 million loss. Now you're playing this Duke game. Basically what this Duke game does is it recoups the money you would have lost from Virginia because they just rolled over all those tickets from the Virginia game to Duke tickets. That Clemson money's never coming back. If Florida State plays a second game here these next couple of weeks against Wake Forest, that'll be a road game. That'll actually be an expense. So really what you're looking at here is it's just a matter of how much money did you lose. Florida State was always going to lose a ton of money this season. Not having, especially that Clemson home game, they just lost a couple more $1 million on the pile of money they've already lost.
Wouldn't they stand to make money though if both Clemson and Notre Dame make the playoff?
Yeah, correct. That'll help the overall conference, and that's one thing that it's good to point out because Florida State fans for years have complained about the revenue sharing model in the ACC, and they feel like if FSU goes to the national championship game or FSU goes to the Orange Bowl, they should get the lion's share of the money. The argument against that is when you're not doing well and other teams do well, that helps everybody because the conference splits that money evenly across all 15 members of the ACC. So yeah, to your point, Florida State fans may not be comfortable doing this, but you'd love to see Clemson beat Notre Dame, Clemson and Notre Dame both get in the playoff, and then Miami keep winning and get into a New Year's Six bowl, which could happen. That would at least bring in the most money for the conference, which then gets split up 15 ways.
And that was probably a selling point when they were telling Florida State that Clemson wouldn't come back. Is like, look, They're not going to come back, but there is now a better chance, not that Florida State was going to do much, but there's a better chance that we get 2 teams in the football playoff and another team in the New Year's Six. So overall, you might recoup much of that $2 million that you lost with the gate from the Clemson game, right?
Some of it. And it also was a factor in the moving of the Duke game last week. That was really the big concession Florida State made last week was Florida State didn't have to give up that Duke game.
Right.
They did it for the betterment of the conference because it allowed Miami to have another opponent, which helps them and got them ready for their game this week against North Carolina. But in exchange for that, the ACC came back and said, okay, we're going to give you 2 more games. We're going to make Duke come to Tallahassee, which they weren't scheduled to do, and we'll give you a road game at Wake Forest. So, yeah, I mean, it was a big compromise because everybody, again, it's about the money, but it's not about greed. It's about saving jobs and keeping the lights on.
Saving programs, for that matter.
Yes.
Other programs might very well have to be cut. It's already happened at Clemson, for example. By the way, Ira, to your other point, I guess we can hold our nose and vote and root for Clemson and Notre Dame to get in, but I don't suspect a lot of our viewers are going to care that much if it doesn't happen, right? I mean, we'll just have to lose the revenue. I can't bring myself to root for Clemson to get there. I understand.
It is better for your program, though.
Yeah.
Obviously.
Since we last played football, some more opt-outs. Asante Samuel has opted out. Well, and it makes sense. He's readying himself for the combine and for the NFL draft, and that he's got a future there. LaDamian Webb kind of caught us all by surprise, I guess, and said he's not going to play any more football this year. Don't really know if he's staying or going. Initially, it looked like he was leaving. And finally, Andrew Baselli also on that list of hitting the transfer portal. All right, obviously this seems pretty self-explanatory, but between LaDamian Webb and Asante Samuel, Ira, who's the bigger loss?
I think it's definitely Asante Samuel. And, you don't blame him. I don't think anybody at FSU right now blames him because what would be happening at this time of year right now is he might have skipped the bowl game, which has become customary for juniors going to the NFL draft or some seniors. But that wasn't, the season going as long as it is right now. We're going to be playing games in mid-December. I don't think anybody's mad at him for taking this time off to prepare for the NFL. But it's a much bigger loss. I mean, it's really the best player on your football team, and it's a position where you're not deep as it is. I think Florida State's got 3 cornerbacks healthy and available for this game. After that, they've got some other safeties that they can move over in need be. But LaDamian Webb's a really nice player. But I think, if Lawrence Toafili is healthy, the freshman running back, if he's healthy, which he hasn't been for much of the season, and it sounds like he has been, if he's healthy, I don't think you're going to miss LaDamian Webb a whole lot. There might be you liked his physicality. There's a couple plays here or there you would have liked to have had him, but I don't think that's as big a loss.
Corey, do you feel like LaDamian Webb's coming back, or do you think that he's piecing out and Mike Norvell is just wishful thinking when he says he feels confident that LaDamian will be back?
Well, it's not a great look that a kid that you brought in that isn't going to the NFL has just decided and has only played, 4 or 5 games this year where he's been healthy, has decided to just say, nah, I'm not going to play right now. These last 2 games, I'm done. That's not a great sign, but I mean, it's just speculation. I know that Norvell said that he plans to have him back, but then later that day, Webb went on Twitter and said, I'm the only one that knows what I'm going to do, which seemed like, maybe not the best sign that he plans on. He's not like, amen, coach.
Yeah.
When he was responding to that, he had something else to say. So I don't know, man. I guess right now I'm in the camp that I would be surprised if he came back just because otherwise, why is he not playing this week? Why is he not on the team right now?
Yeah, it's disappointing to hear that, though, because like you said, that's a Norvell guy. He brought him in. It's different with all these other guys. So it's a bit disconcerting. It's been a trying year for a lot of people, obviously. But it is a chance, as Ira pointed out, and I think we're all excited to see a healthy Toafili. He's a talented kid. He's a faster running back. I think he's a more natural running back. You see his vision in the limited time that we've watched him. He sets up runs nicely. So I'm really excited to see him this Saturday. By the way, Duke is coming to town. Go ahead, Ira.
I was just going to add one more note. Nobody's really talking about Jayshon Corbin right now, but right before this hiatus, before they stopped playing football for about a month, he really looked better those last couple games.
You're right.
We're starting to see more out of him. So if he's a different level than he was, and if Toafili is what we think he is in those limited times we saw him this year, I think they could be fine at running back.
It would just be a shame that we didn't get the Seagull backfield that everybody was pining for, though, if Webb left.
Just when it was Just when it was really taking off.
Yeah.
It's close to happening, Corey. When I read that LaDainian was opting out or not playing anymore, I thought, poor Corey Clark is devastated. We were that close
to the Seagull backfield. We would have had it for years.
You might need to explain for
viewers
who are not.
They can go listen to Seminole headlines. We're not going to do it here, guys. Duke is coming to town, Ira. What are you doing? We got to preview Duke. They're 2-8. That's next on the Warchant.com report.
Are you the ultimate FSU fan? We're your ultimate Seminole sports source. Subscribe to Warchant TV, where we bring to life the award-winning website, Warchant.com. Here you will find added opinion and analysis from the #1 team on the Florida State beat, a staff that brings over 50 years combined experience right to your phone or mobile device. Unmatched digital storytelling, original recruiting content, access to the top prospects in the nation, unflinching post-game wrap-ups, and the daily podcast Wake Up Warchant. All free of charge every day right here on YouTube. Subscribe to the channel and use the promo code WARCHANT30 for a risk-free 30-day trial of premium access to Warchant.com, home to the most active, passionate FSU community online, featuring exclusive insider access you won't find anywhere else. You're the ultimate Florida State fan? Connect to Warchant.com, your ultimate Seminole sports source.
Welcome back to the Warchant.com report. Hey, you guys won't know why we're laughing, but that's a successful welcome back is what that is. Duke is 2-8. They just got done getting blown out 48-0 against Miami. I don't know if any of you watched it. I put myself to the test and watched a good quarter and a half of that football game, guys, and it doesn't look like Duke cares to play football right now. This should be a win. Then again, they could have put the film on, and they could have said, Florida State feels like a win for us. So maybe they're inspired this week. I'm a little worried about it. Earlier this year, Duke was putting up some decent offensive numbers. They threw up just 177 yards against Miami last week. If there was ever a get-right game for Adam Fuller, boys, and this FSU defense, you would think this would be the one. Who wants to talk about that thin backfield for Florida State and what this means to Adam Fuller, and does it really matter?
I know Corey doesn't, so I will.
Oh, go for it. Ira, yeah, sure.
The thing about Duke, what's a little bit misleading about them, a little bit deceiving about them is their biggest problems on offense really are just turnovers. They turn the ball over at just an astounding rate. It's not like they lead the ACC in turnovers or the country in turnovers. They're so far out in front. It's like they're running a different race. And so their quarterback, it's a nice player, Clemson transfer, and has shown some ability. But I think he's thrown 13 picks. He's thrown a lot of interceptions. They fumbled the ball a ton. So your fear against an opponent like that, I think, is like, what happens if they don't? Like, what happens if they just somehow, this is the week, they don't decide to give you 5 turnovers, and you actually have to make some stops, which has been a problem for this defense, who, as we said, is missing Asante Samuel. I think if you're playing anybody in the conference, not having Asante Samuel, this is probably the team you'd want to play. It's not like they're dynamic at wide receiver. Their strength is their running game. But at the same time, it's just not good. Asante Samuel's been their best football player by far. So you definitely like to have him. And you just hope Duke continues to have the turnovers they've had. But again, I don't know that you can plan that they're going to keep turning the ball over, except for the fact that that's what they always seem to do.
The one good sign, though, is that they, like Jeff said, they had less than 200 yards against Miami. Like they looked so much like they just didn't want to be physical at all. They just wanted to get that game over with. There was no cohesion. I don't know. I haven't been following Duke's season enough to know if they had a couple of postponements before that game, but they just looked like they were done with it. They were done with the season. They didn't want to do it anymore. I do wonder, though, like Jeff alluded to earlier, when you see Florida State's defense, that might light a fire under you. Yeah. And also the idea that you treat it almost like a bowl game. Like, look, this is our last game. Let's just go out. Let's play hard. Let's have fun. Let's play physical. There might be something to that. Plus, they're going up against a bad defense.
The one thing I was going to just big picture with Duke, Jeff, not to take over your show, but look at what Dead Fish Hand, your boy Cutcliffe. I mean, that tenure, they were in the ACC championship game against Florida State. And what was it, 2013 or 14?
13.
In 2013, they were in the ACC championship game. They went 9-4 and 10-4. They had like 2 or 3 years in a row there where they were, one of the best teams in the Coastal, one of the best teams in the conference. And it has been a steady decline. Now, I don't know what your expectations are at Duke, and Cutcliffe's obviously a better head coach than they would have any right to expect to have in football. But it's really gone downhill. So the reason I bring that up is you wouldn't necessarily say, hey, it's just a bad season and they might rally in this game. It's been a steady decline now for several years. I mean, they haven't been what we thought Duke was going to be under David Cutcliffe really in several years.
They're awful across the board this year, guys. And I don't know if you know this about me, but every now and then I like to fancy a wager or two. So I pay attention to a lot of these teams. In the early part of the season, I locked in on Duke. They're usually good to win you some money because they are well coached typically. And I thought with the Bryce kid coming in from Clemson, they'd be a good football team. They lost that game early in the year to Boston College, and nothing's been right since. And they do turn the ball over a lot. They're terrible in the red zone as well. And they don't look like a team that has their heart in it. Corey was talking about that. I watched that game last week, some of that game last week, enough to know that they didn't fight to get off blocks on defense. They didn't do much that showed there was real fire to be there. They weren't helping their head coach out in his cause. But then again, like you said, what are you going to do? You're going to move on from Cutcliffe? Who are you going to get? I just don't know that you can really win at Duke consistently the way that he did for a while there. Now let's look at them. Duke's defense, Corey, has given up an average of 50 points over the last 3 games. They gave up 56 to Georgia Tech. They gave up 48 to Miami. Miami could have scored 100 if they had wanted to. I guess, what do you expect to see from Norvell, Kenny Dillingham? They talked about Jordan Travis all week long, how excited they are to see him play and how healthy he is. What do you suspect we're going to see from this Florida State offense against this Duke defense?
Well, we're not going to see the Seagull backfield, which obviously, as everyone knows, is a Seagull has webbed toes for Damian Webb and Toa. Yeah. So that's where that comes from. Just want to clear that up. I think you're going to see a lot of Jordan Travis running the ball. I think you're going to see them trying to feed Toafili and Corbin because look at those numbers, man. It's not – they gave up 56 to Carolina, 56 to a bad Georgia Tech offense, and then 48 to Miami, where Miami literally kind of just went through the motions. Miami could have put it, like you said, could have scored as many as they wanted. Mm-hmm. You wonder if they've just completely given up. And if they've given up and don't feel like getting off blocks, don't feel like being physical, then yes, even Florida State should be able to put up 35 or 40 points. And I do think that it all hinges on the quarterback. If Jordan Travis is healthy, which he should be, it's been 5 weeks now, then I think you're going to see the running game have a big day against Duke. And if they decide to bring 8 every play, even if they decide to stack the box, man, wouldn't it be nice if a receiver went out and made a play?
Be the first time this year.
Well, Warren Thompson had the play against NC State at the end.
Corrected.
Down by 3 touchdowns.
Hey, it still counted, guys. It still counted. Something to build on.
Hey, something else to build on is Jordan Travis, but how do they want to utilize him moving forward? Is he a weapon in the offense but not your starting quarterback? These are all questions that people have asked and thought about this year because he's not reliable from a health standpoint. Does Florida State bring in a quarterback transfer? We'll talk about it next on the Warchant.com report. Welcome back to the Warchant.com report. As a reminder, make sure you're subscribed to Warchant TV by clicking on the subscribe button on the bottom right of the video. Click on the bell to be notified of when new videos and live shows are available. There have been a lot of talks, guys, about FSU and the quarterback of the future. Would they take a quarterback transfer? Mackenzie Milton's name has been tossed around a lot. Seems to be the sexiest of the options. People seem to think Florida State would have a chance. I'm not sure if I'm Mackenzie Milton and I have other options to go play a football season, say behind a better offensive line with real receivers and an opportunity to win, that I wouldn't choose that over Florida State. But hey, never mind. Maybe he saw what he saw when he was at UCF when they played Memphis and said, I look good in that offense. Maybe they've got an in there. Does Florida State take a quarterback transfer, and would you take a quarterback transfer to join the likes of Chubba Purdy and Jordan Travis?
I would take Mackenzie Milton. I would not take an Alex Hornibrook clone for a variety of reasons. If you're just getting somebody for depth, I don't know what that does more than – like if it's – are we talking about is it versus signing a high school quarterback? Because, I just don't know what that would do to add depth to a quarterback room that theoretically should already have 3 kids in it, a sophomore and 2 freshmen. Like, what would be the point of bringing in a transfer to just add depth to a room that already has 3 guys?
No, you want to take a good player. Yeah,
you want to bring in a guy that'll play.
Yeah.
So if you can get a guy that can play, sure. But you also know that if you bring in a Mackenzie Milton, then there is a chance then a Tate Rodemaker or a Chubba Purdy will say, I'm going to go somewhere else where they think I can play in 2021. Yeah, it's up. You can shake your head and say, well, okay then. But it is something that Norvell has to think about, right? Like, what's better for his program, to have Chubba Purdy in 2022 or to have Mackenzie Milton in 2021? That might be the calculus you have to do. I'm not saying Chubba's leaving. I'm just saying that's what head coaches have to think about now when they make these decisions.
It is something they have to think about. But if I'm a head coach that just went 2-6, or
hey, buddy, it could be 4-6.
Could be 4-6. Then I'm not too concerned about what's happening 2 or 3 years down the road. I want to make sure I win a lot of games, as many games as possible next season. So if there is whoever, whether it's Milton or whether it's somebody else, there's probably going to be more transfer quarterbacks available as this goes on. Yeah, man, I'm looking at every option, and if any of those guys is upset about it, it's tough luck. The one guy I would really be focused on is Jordan Travis. Because we don't know what Jordan Travis wants to be. I mean, would he be okay being in an offense where he's a guy that lines up at different positions, maybe gets 8 snaps a game at quarterback?
He's not playing quarterback in the NFL, so he should end that dream right now and get his ass out at wide receiver and be a playmaker. Just do something.
And if he's on board with that, then fantastic. But if he's dead set on being a quarterback, you just have to see. I mean, every comment he's ever made publicly is that he wants to be a quarterback. So we'll have to see. I mean, the reality is those guys see physically when they see some of the guys who are playing in the NFL now, your guy of Oklahoma or even Russell Wilson or guys like that, there's at least they see a window to where they could be a quarterback at the next level. Now, he doesn't throw it like those guys.
No.
But in his mind, he may think that's an option. So to me, he's the guy I'd be most concerned about how he feels, because you don't have many difference makers on this team. He's one of them. But yeah, to follow up on what Corey said, I mean, if you got somebody that can win games in 2011, they have to do it. And I do think they're going to sign a quarterback, whether or not they sign another high school player, which I think they might. They definitely have to bring in a transfer.
With Jordan Travis, though, when you think they've scored 21 offensive touchdowns this year, he's accounted for 10 of them, and he's played 4 games. Like, he's it. He's the only reason this offense has done anything at all, really, except for a second half against North Carolina State when they were down 38-6 or whatever it was. So other than that, it's been Jordan Travis or nothing. I don't think anybody right now sees anything that says, okay, that kid could be a good NFL quarterback or even an NFL quarterback. But he's also started 4 games. Some guys do get better throwing the ball the more they play, and I do think he could be a good college quarterback. And that's like, he can do all these other things. He could be a Swiss Army knife, or he might be your future quarterback for the next 2 years. Those are the things that Norvell has to know. He sees them more than we do, obviously. He knows. So if he knows in his heart of heart, this guy just can't get it done with his arm, then it would make much more sense to go after Mackenzie Milton. It makes more sense to go after Milton anyway. That kid's thrown for 9,000 yards. He would help your team. But again, what if you don't get him? Do you go after one of these Georgia quarterbacks that aren't very good? Like, do they help your team? You know what I mean? Like, I think you ride with Jordan Travis and Chubba Purdy if you can't get an obviously better option.
Yeah, that's all I'm saying. I think the debate is more about, do you bring in a guy that's going to start right away that has produced at the college level? If you've got that as an option, you bring him in and you don't worry if that upsets some kids. Because these days, every time you bring a transfer in, you could upset the kid who plays that position. What are you going to do? Live your life that way? You can't worry about that. I mean, hopefully these kids have strong character and they understand that, look, this year didn't even count. They've got their full allotment of years still to play. It wouldn't be that big a deal. And in the case of Jordan Travis, he's going to play on this team. He's going to be a big part of this offense, whether he's the starting quarterback or not. He's a big, big part, Ira, as you noted, and Corey, you noted the productivity of this offense moving forward. I just don't think he throws it well enough. And if I could get a quarterback that does, I'm bringing him in. Definitely bringing him in. All right, so
somebody's got to throw it to those great wide receivers.
Yeah, and before, just to clarify, earlier you said that Milton might be more interested in a team with real wide receivers. Florida State has real wide receivers. They're not imaginary. They're just not.
We don't see them ever.
They're
sure they're there?
They're alive. They're breathing.
They exist. Okay, I'll take it.
They're about to introduce themselves.
I'm going to put my binoculars up to my eyes this weekend, Ira. I'm going to look like you do, buddy, and I'm going to find them. Will they make catches? Do they catch the ball?
All
right.
Hey, ask that NC State cornerback. Warren Thompson catches the ball, baby.
So every week we normally do picks here. But it's kind of a messed up segment this year. Half the games don't get played. So instead, I thought I'd ask you guys, yes or no, the game will be played. Here we go. Oklahoma at West Virginia. Will they play the game?
I'm going to say no. I'm going to go out on a limb and say no.
About this one.
I don't feel it. That's that's the part you're traveling too far. I just feel like there's too much room for something to happen if you're traveling across the country. So I'm going to say no. It's not worth the risk.
Do we even know if that game is still on? Is it on the board? As of the time of
recording this, I didn't check. I was not responsible before we hit record, so I don't know if that game.
I'll say it is going to be played, but there's a decent chance, folks, it's already been canceled. We'll see.
I feel like Corey's right on this one. I have the same gut feeling, Corey. We're not seeing Oklahoma, West Virginia this weekend.
Sorry, guys.
No
Sorry,
ABC. Behind it or anything. You and I don't feel like that game's going to be played.
Doesn't feel right.
Yeah. Does Auburn, Mississippi State feel like a game that will be played?
Oh, gosh, it should not be played.
I feel like Mississippi State just showed they'll play with 11 kids on the team. So that's going to be played no matter what.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair. Malzahn needs a big win to rally and save his job, which I don't know.
That's Aslan's new favorite team. Mississippi State will play you with 7. I don't care. Let's get it on. Let's go.
They're not cowards.
Virginia versus Virginia Tech. That has to be played. The nation awaits.
It does.
I think that will be played. It's already been postponed from back in September. I think these guys have been following the protocols. They've both been hit. Virginia Tech especially was hit early. I think they've figured it out. So I do think that game will be played.
LSU at Florida.
Well, Ira, you didn't get Ira's.
Yeah. I'm just going to parrot everything you say. Sounds good to me.
Okay. Well, LSU at Florida. Is that canceled? They play that game?
I think both those teams have already had to postpone games because of COVID, so they've learned their lesson. Florida had, I believe I saw a stat, because they released them, that since they went back to school, 69 people in the in the University of Florida football program have contracted COVID. 69.
It's stunning to hear that, Corey, given how serious Dan Mullen takes the pandemic, So
I might be way off with that number, but I think I'm right. At least that's what I read. That's what the graphic said. But either way, they've learned their lesson. They've got herd immunity. So Florida and LSU are definitely playing this week.
I'll go along with Corey again. I'm riding the hot hand. I'm going with Corey. They're going to play.
North Carolina at Miami.
Ooh.
That's the AC. If John Swofford has to suit up to play for North Carolina, they're going to play that game. They want Miami to get those
W's.
Any W's they can get to try to get into a New Year's Six.
I want to see it because I think North Carolina's going to beat them. All right, Here we go. Florida State is favored, folks. Stunning, I know. Florida State is favored. Before we make our predictions, remember, Warchant TV on YouTube, 9 o'clock in the morning this Saturday. Myself, Tom Lang, will preview FSU Duke after the game. Stay on Warchant TV here on YouTube and watch Tom Lang and Gene Williams talk about the game and take your calls. Of course, you can always call in and they'll answer questions as well. All right, 4.5-point favorites. What do you say? You feel good about it, guys? Florida State wins and wins going away.
Do we think they're going to play?
That's I was going to say. We might need to switch go with that question for this one. This can be we could go with the exacta. Are they going to play and do they cover?
I like you. I like the way your mind works, Ira. They're going to play and they're going to cover. Yeah, I'm in.
I think they're not going to play and they're not going to cover.
Well, it would be hard to cover if they didn't play.
I mean, I'm really 50-50 on the playing part. I think, you know what, they'll play. Duke, come on. Let's get it done. They'll play, and I do think Florida State will cover. I think Duke wants to be done.
We're recording this on Wednesday. We're not sure when it'll be up on the site. We recorded a little late this week. I think there's
Are you hearing rumors, Ira? What talking about?
There's chatter out there that there might be some concerns. But again, like I felt like with John Swofford in North Carolina, I think Florida State really, 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 really is going to want to play this game. And it might be the Aslan Hajavandi lineup. They might have some running backs at offensive guard. Whatever they got to do, they're going to figure out a way.
Some students that just have never played football. Let's go.
The one thing that gives me pause, though, is that, Ira, you mentioned it when you were watching the Duke-Illinois basketball game, that Jay Billis went on a 5-minute kind of rant about why are they even doing this. And then afterwards, the guy that tells him everything, the head coach at Duke, basically said, this is crazy that we're doing this right now. Why are we doing this right now? That's what I wonder if that's permeating that entire athletic department. And if that message is being felt all the way in Durham, like if that message is all, I don't know that Krzyzewski and Cutcliffe talk a whole lot, but if that message is what's being permeated throughout that department, whether they decide, yeah, why are we doing this?
Well, no, I definitely think Duke. I mean, Duke's the reason they didn't play the ACC basketball tournament. They said we're not coming, and their program has not allowed fans at any games in any sport this season. So Duke's very much on the conservative side of it. So I mean that's possible, but I don't think that would be the reason. I think if the ACC wants these games played, they need these games played for the inventory. I think Duke will play it. I mean, like you said, Krzyzewski wasn't happy with that basketball game, but they played it.
Played it, yeah.
So I think they'll play if that's the reason. If they don't play, I think it's going to be because one of the teams has legitimate issues fielding a team, and that we'll see if that happens. But if they do play, I like the Noles to cover. Also, I think Duke's definitely playing out the string.
Let's hope it happens, boys. Be well. For Corey and Ira, our thanks to Aslan and all of you. Talk to you next time on the Warchant.com report. Take care, everybody.